Hey ghouls, welcome to an extra special podcast thing, hosted by me, Miss Linda. Let me just get this out of the way. I don't think that ghosts are real, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy ghost stories, and you would be surprised by the amount of ghosts roaming the highways, bridges, hotels, cemeteries, and other spooky sites in the natural state, which is kind of cool after you push through the obvious sites that claim to be hotspots for the dearly not-so-departed. To get some real interesting ones, you kind of have to dig, and I'm not just talking about the kind you do in a cemetery. The Central Arkansas Library System does not condone, nor does it encourage grave digging for the heck of it. Please do not dig graves, unless that's like your job or something. Local lores and legends play a huge role in tales of hauntings, though not all of them can be easily monetized and put on display as the one-stop shop for ghostly encounters. So, we're going to look at hauntings from around the state. Some famous, many not so famous. Ghosts, ghouls, and goblins, let's get spooky. If you can't make the trip up to Eureka Springs to rub shoulders with the dearly departed at the Crescent and Basin Park hotels, you might be able to catch a spirit at the Horny Brook Mansion, also known as the Empress of Little Rock. I couldn't find anything saying that they were doing tours, but if you can cough up enough dough to spend the night at this luxury hotel, a hop and a skip down the street from the main library, specter of the former owner Robert H. Blair, seen floating down the stairs. There's also another ghost that might be Robert H. Blair or could just be something completely different, but this guy is said to be dressed in period clothes, so with top hat and all that jazz, and apparently he likes to play pranks. A painter named Timmy Watts was doing some work in a secret poker room in the attic when he found himself locked out. He left to get something to jimmy the door open, but when he came back, the door was unlocked, opened, and there was a ghost standing in the doorway, proud of what he'd done. But some of us cannot afford to cough up roughly $200 on a hotel room on the off chance that we're going to see a dapper ghost giggling about locked doors or one floating down the stairs. So, where are places you can go for free or for cheap and do some ghost hunting a la Zach Bagans style? Though I would say that I would take a more Shane Midday from BuzzFeed Unsolved kind of approach. Maybe. I've got that Shane Midday mindset, but I've got the Ryan Bugara reactions. You know what I'm saying, guys? If you happen to find yourself close to Crossit Garden or Stamps, you could poke around the railroad tracks at night to catch a glimpse of the Crossit Garden or Stamps lights. My understanding is that they all have the same kind of story surrounding them. A headless man looking for his head that was cut off by robbers or an oncoming train. Or it's a miner looking for his wife or daughter. I've only ever lived close to Crossit and Garden, so I can produce stories for those two. Now, the Garden light is connected to a gruesome 1931 murder committed by a railway worker who was said to have attacked and murked his foreman with a shovel and a spike maul. And I looked up what a spike maul was. Owie, that looks like it would be painful. And back when I was in middle school, a group of high schoolers had gone to Crossit to catch the floating railroad orb in action. They drove to the usual haunting spot, put the brakes on, and waited. And waited. And waited. They didn't see an orb, but this might be of some interest to you. The car momentarily died while they were crossing over the tracks, and they had to try and turn it over several times before it came back to life. So, that's something, I guess. I will say, if ghosts aren't your thing, but you still want to check out Garden, you can marvel at the headquarters of the International Concatenated Order of the Hoo-Hoo, a fraternal order, women included, made up of those who deal in lumber products. And the silliness does not stop at the name. Practically every facet of the Hoo-Hoo was created in mockery of the mystical, secretive fraternal orders. Cool. Railroads. Neat. But what about a haunted house that won't put you out of pocket? Okay, so here comes that part where I put an obvious ghost attraction on the list, but here we go. If you want to make the trip to the Delta and snoop around an old house with a macabre history, look no further than the Allen House, located in Monticello. The Allen House has been features on TV shows like Paranormal Witness, Ghost Hunters, and Ghost Brothers. Apparently for good reason. This turn-of-the-century home is said to house doppelganger spirits, ghost children, and an apparition that has been linked to Liddell Allen, who died by self-inflicted mercury cyanide poisoning after her secret love affair crumbled. You can contact the Allen House for a tour. The limit is 6 people, and it's about $10 a head. Or hit them up on the last 2 days of October. They also provide other kinds of tours that allow you time to conduct your own paranormal investigation. You might find something, and you might not. But hey, let's turn to my favorite kind of haunted place. Cemeteries. Aside from local legends that might surround your town's cemetery, and if there aren't, make some up. Especially if you live near some place that is etched into the stone of Arkansas history, or a swamp like wetland. You could pop by Keller's Chapel Cemetery in Jonesboro. Visit this graveyard at night and you might get tailed by floating orbs, hear babies cry, and if you park in front of the chapel, there is a chance your car will have difficulties. Some say that one of the trees at the back of the cemetery was the site of several hangings, and if you poke around the woods, you might find Keller's cabin, and see the man for whom the cemetery is named after in one of the windows. Some people also claim to have seen a group of people clad in black cloaks performing satanic rituals, but those claims came at the varying peaks of the ongoing satanic panic, so I wouldn't dwell on that too much. There is also the Mount Holly Cemetery in Little Rock, where quite a few players in the game of history are buried. Flute music is said to play at sunrise, and graves have been known to switch around. Some visitors swear that they see statues moving out of the corner of their eyes. Nope. No. Nuh-uh. I'm not going. You can now not convince me to, at any point in my life, enter the Mount Holly Cemetery. Like, guys, no. I'm not an idiot. Okay? I'm not. I watch Doctor Who. I ain't messing with weeping angels. Y'all can. Y'all can. Y'all can go right on ahead. Get zapped into a different time while sentient statues feed on your life force. Not me. I choose life. On top of graves moving around the cemetery, some have claimed that headstones are moved to lawns of houses near the graveyard as well. Cool, cemeteries, great. But what about bridges? Ooh-hoo-hoo. Yes, there are some haunted bridges. Let's talk about the old Wolf Bayou Bridge in Scott. Now this bridge was, and to some extent, is known as Mama Lou's Bridge. Some sources say that she drove off the bridge, while others claim that a truck ran her off. Whatever happened, the legend of Mama Lou's Bridge states that a car containing a woman and her baby fell off the Wolf Bayou Bridge. Her body was recovered, but the body of her baby never was. So now, you can go to Mama Lou's Bridge and shout one of two things. You can shout, "Mama Lou, I've got your baby," and the apparition of a woman will appear near the bridge, and you could also shout, "Mama Lou, come get me." Now, if you're in your car and you say this, your car will either die or experience some trouble, according to reports. There are also reports of Mama Lou calling out to the person that summoned her, and some say that if you are standing on the bridge when you say this, you can hear the sound of someone splashing through water, getting closer and closer and closer. Not to kill the moment, but this kind of feels like a redneck Bloody Mary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up in a small town in the boonies of southeast Arkansas where the pastime was sitting in the drugstore parking lot and walking from one side of the town to the other, which you could do in like 15 minutes flat. And let me tell you something. If we had a haunted bridge, I guarantee you it would have been the place to go during Duck Deer days. A couple of kids in elementary and middle school did the whole Bloody Mary thing, right, in the bathrooms. But I just feel like that's not the style of small towns, man. I would argue that Bloody Mary has no business in Arkansas. No, she's too snooty, too confined. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the natural state. And if we are going to have ghosts, those ghosts should be summoned whilst in nature, not in bathrooms. Let's move on. Haunted roads. There are a few haunted roads. We've got Highway 365 in Woodson. And this lovely patch of highway has a lady hitchhiker that you pick up. And she says she's been in a car accident, and she gives you an address, and then you drive to the address, and you, like, walk her to the door, and you knock on the door, and the person answers, and you're like, yo, I got your daughter, she's okay, she's safe, and then they're like, my daughter died in a car accident 12 years ago on this very night, and then thunder, like, rolls, and then there's, like, lightning, yeah. That kind of ghost. And then there's one that'll run out in front of your car, and then there's a ghost motorcyclist that will drive towards you if you, like, stop in the middle of a highway. Don't do that, guys. That's dangerous, right? Turn off your car and honk 3 times. Whatever. I don't think your insurance can cover wanting to summon ghosts in your claim, so don't do it. There's also Raider Road on the outskirts of Roger. That is home to Arkansas's own headless horseman. That's right, guys. There is a headless horseman riding up and down a road outside of Rogers. And there is the old Redfield Road in Sheridan. This is said to have ghosts that walk up and down the road, and that electrical items tend to stop working when you are driving on it. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But let's get a little bit closer to home here, guys. Here at the Nixon Library in Jacksonville. Oh, what? Sorry? Huh? What? You thought Jacksonville was free of grim, grinning ghosts that come out to socialize? I mean, yes, because I don't think ghosts are real. But for the sake of this podcast thing, let's talk about Pickthorn Lake. Now, Pickthorn Lake, there is said to be a ghost of a man with a lantern that roams the edge of the lake. Unfortunately, that's all I can find on this legend, so if you can add to this ghost story the origins, the lore, chime in the comments, because I kind of want to know more about this guy. And then there is the Mumbling Man. Sounds scary, right? So at the old Jacksonville High School, that is now going to be the site of the middle school and the Jacksonville Elementary School, stalking the rows of the old auditorium was an entity known as the Mumbling Man. So how he got to the auditorium is unclear, but before the old high school was torn down, it was reported that you could hear him mumbling and hear his footsteps on the catwalk and around the building. There are even a few reports of students and staff seeing his ghostly silhouette. Now, you could summon the Mumbling Man by walking backwards up an aisle while chanting, "Mumbling Man who wanted fame." Mumbling Man, let's play a game. It's all fun until he mumbles your name. And then you would hear him mumble your name into your ear. I'm just kidding. I made that up. You see how easy it is to make up lore? You can just do it with a mildly creepy story and then give it a bit of like a twist on it. Now we just need to give it a cryptic ending. Did the spirit of the Mumbling Man disappear with the old high school? Maybe. Or maybe the Mumbling Man traveled to the new high school to saunter over the catwalks and among the rows of the new auditorium seats, mumbling the name of any high schooler that summons him. So I mentioned earlier about making your own legend or lore ghost story, especially if you are living near a swamp or swamp-like wetland. This is just some information I picked up and I kind of want to share it with you guys. So wetlands themselves can be spooky. The willows, the moss, the snakes, ugh. But often around these ecosystems are stories of floating light orbs. So some people call them will-o'-the-wisps or feu follet. But this phenomenon is often linked with the realm of the dead. But what if I told you there might be a scientific explanation for it? You see, these light orbs might be the ignition of swamp gas. So swamps and swamp-like wetlands create a gas that contains high levels of methane, which is flammable. So, be careful. Swamp gas also contains phosphine that could convert to diphosphine by the bacteria living in the swamp. And diphosphine can auto-ignite at temperatures found in swamps and swamp-like wetlands. So another explanation for light orbs in swampy areas, or light orbs in general, are bioluminescent organisms, meaning that things are shiny, like bioluminescent algae, or fireflies. Well, guys, those are the ghostesses with the mostesses. Is there a spook or a haunt near you? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There are way more programmers on this channel that make really cool content. And guys, happy Halloween.